Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Akika. Must be something with your feed. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I was just asking, how are you doing?
Oh, good.
Good.
Hot,
Awesome.
hot. It's been hot over Chicago. This weather, it's been killing. It's hot, but I'm doing fine
All right. Praise
though.
you. Go ahead and get started in just a few moments, everyone. I'm just letting everyone kind of get in right now. Shabbat shalom, Q. Shabbat shalom to our listening audience on YouTube. All praises be to the Most High Yah. We'll be getting started in just a moment.
Okay, we're already streaming.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me do that real quick. Okay.
Let me share the screen with you right quick.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Emiyah. All right. Yeah, we are streaming. All right. Hallelujah. All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Akika. Must be something with your feed. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I was just asking, how are you doing?
Oh, good. Hot,
Awesome.
hot.
Okay, there you go. It's a repeat. Let's go ahead. Get this back online here. All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Cool. Wonderful. There we are. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Can I be heard?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you
All
sure
right.
can.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
How you doing? Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat shalom.
Brother Bill. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
All right, this week's Torah portion, I don't think it's going to be that extensive. I mean, there's a couple of things that we went over this week, primarily dealing with the red heifer, and then of course dealing with the rock that Moshe smote with his staff, and also too we see that the Most High had allowed the children of Israel to continue to camp and travel, and so today we're going to focus a little bit on the theme that I found in the Torah and also in the Haftarah. We're going to focus on those things, and I want you guys to be able to catch, what was spoken and what does the Most High want us to know, right? So we're reading the Torah, we're trying to figure things out, we're trying to figure out what direction the Most High wants us to go in. We're trying to understand what some of these mysterious things mean. There's some mystery behind the red heifer. They say that the red heifer, the ashes can make one clean, versus it all can also make one unclean. The person who picked them up become unclean, and so that's kind of mysterious. But today I'm not going to talk to you about the mysteries of things that I don't understand. I don't have the understanding or the proper understanding of the red heifer. I do know that is used to cleanse individuals from death, from touching a dead body, or a grave or a bone, or someone who has died in the field, and then those who have died inside of their homes. So there's quite a bit of information that goes along with that. But I do want us to focus on the actual theme. There's something that that we can learn from the Kukat HaTorah. That's the name of the Torah portion. Some people may say it's just Kukat, but it is really called the Kukat of HaTorah. And the Kukat is basically a decree, all right? And so it's talking about the decree of the instructions. And so we're going to focus on that, and we're going to focus on how important the Kukat is of the Torah, which is the statute or the decree or the ordinance of the Torah. and it was more specifically talking about the red cow, the red heifer, um, in regards to what the actual kukat is, what is the regulation about that. But there's another theme that's found in that in particular Torah portion I want to discuss today briefly with you that can help us learn how to manage our lives better, because that's what this is all about. It's about us understanding on how we can manage our lives. Okay. So of course, the opening verse tells us what the Torah portion is called, right? Which is Kukat HaTorah. In English, it says this is the decree. Okay. That's what this is. This is the decree, because that's what a Kukat is. It's a decree. It's an ordinance that the Most High has given to the children of Israel, more specifically when they're living out in the wilderness. Okay, because he says that you're going to do this and it's going to be put outside the camp. And so this has to do with the wilderness. And he says that, these are instructions that they'd have to bring a red cow. And of course, no defect and no yoke has been placed upon this in particular cow. But that's not our focus. Our focus is dealing with the actual, what is the decree of the instruction? Because the Torah is the instruction. Okay. So let's find out what this means. Let's see. Meet you up right quick. Thank you. All right. So a little bit more detail about Kukah. Okay. It's a decree, as I said, but here are the elements of a decree. Okay. A decree is something that has been inscribed, right? So there's an inscription has been made. There is the idea of sometimes it being understood as being a law. So sometimes you'll see that the word decree is referenced as a law because it's like a statute or an ordinance. And anything that's considered a law has to be inscribed. It has to be written. It cannot be just, something that's, oral. It actually has to be written. Okay. So all of Yah's decrees are written. Okay. They're written. They're written in a scroll, which you and I have a copy of today. But not only in the scroll that we have, but they have been written down in the place of Yahweh's throne. Yah has written down what he wants the children of Israel to do. So all of our appointed times, which they call the Moedims, are written. All of the Mishpatim, which are the judgments, have been written. All of the Kukah or the Kukim, which is the plural for Kukah, which are decrees, have been written, statutes and ordinances to surround the children of Israel. That's all been inscribed in books and scrolls in the heavenly place of the throne of the Most High. Okay, so we have been given a law or a decree that has been given to us from the Creator of the heavens and the earth, and so it all has to be inscribed. And once it's inscribed, it is never to be changed. And this is something that, as a people, we need to fully understand and grasp the idea that it's never going to change. So whatever the Most High has said to us, it is done. That's it. Okay. The idea of separation is found in the actual Hebrew letters called Kukah right here. Okay. The first letter right here is this meaning a wall, okay? Like a wall of a tent or a wall of a city or some type of wall. And what this wall does, okay, because that's the picture that they use in Hebrew, it means the separation. It's separating the inside from the outside, okay? This next letter right here called the Kof, right, is represented by the sun, okay? So there's a sunrise and it's like this, and then they have a line going through it. And it means that the sun is coming to its horizon. That means to gather. So the light is gathering at the end of the day. Okay. So there's a time of separation and a time of gathering. So those are two different concepts that are found in the word kukah. And you might see this word called coke. Okay. CH, which is okay. And then you'll end up having this, and then you'll have a Q right here or a K, depending on how you want to say it. That means this is a statute. So you might see that as well, okay? And as you notice, it's a kukah, it's a ah, so it's feminine, right? So these are important things for us to understand. So anytime we see a ah on a word in Hebrew, like Torah or kukah or nefeshah, or Adama, any is feminine. It's feminine in its nature. And what does it mean to be feminine in its nature? It means that it's really dealing with the soul, because the soul is feminine. Okay. So all the laws and the statutes and the commandments and the instructions are given for the soul. That's what it's for. How this is carried out is through our bodies, but we really should be focusing on our souls. So when the Most High is giving his laws, he's giving his statutes, he's giving his decrees, he's giving his judgments, is in order to either, cleanse the soul or to restore the soul, right? A soul that has gone through a time of separation, and then it has to go through the process of being regathered too. So that which has been separated now is to be gathered, okay? So when you think about the decree that the Most High gives, okay, which is called a kukah, he's giving this in order to gather which has been separated. So often you would find out a lot of Yah's so-called laws, or even some of his Moedims, his gathering times, are like the new moon or the Rosh Kodesh. There's called a Kok, okay? And it's a time where you're supposed to separate yourselves and you're supposed to from others, and then you gather together. See? And so the idea of a decree is to bring that which is separate, has been separated, to gather it so you can bring it together. It means coming together. So that's the purpose of Yah's decrees. The purpose of Yah's decrees is to bring that which has been separated together. And as you know, you and I have been exiled from our land of our forefathers. And so what the Most High is giving us information about is how you and I could know how it is that we got our separation from the Most High, and how the Most High's desire is to gather us, to bring us back together. And we're only going to be brought back together through what you would say the laws, the statutes, and the commandments that have been inscribed by the Creator for his people. This is what brings us together. Okay, so that's pretty much what a kukah is, what a decree is. See, often we want to, I don't say we want to, but let's be very careful about being religious, trying to make our understanding about the law different than what it's supposed to, its original intent is. The original intent is to gather us together. So that's the reason why the Most High has given his laws, his statutes, and his decrees to the children of Israel, and it's to keep them together. And it's also to let them know, when you go through your time of separation from him, you could be brought back together through his decrees. So there's going to be times when they're going to be separate, like someone touches something dead. So here's a decree on how you are to, get your purity back. This is a decree on how are you supposed to eradicate uncleanness from the camp, so you won't be in violation of Yah's decrees, because you can't break one decree of Yah and expect everything to go well, you see. And he says if anyone doesn't get purified on the third and the seventh day, that person is to be cut off. That means they're going to be separated, okay, from their people if they don't go through this process, this decree, okay? So that is what a decree is, and that's what this Torah portion opens up with, okay? But also, too, I want you to understand the connection between the Kukim and the Mishpatim, okay? So we call it, you saw when I first opened up, it's called a Kukat, right? That's just a grammatical way of saying it when it's connected to another word. Then you also see me had the word called Kukah, and it was the H on the end of it instead of the IM that you see right here. The IM basically is telling you is plural. There's a lot of them. So Kukah is a singular, okay? But then when you put the im on the end of it, Kukim, it's plural. It means many, okay? So there's more than one Kukah. If it's more than one Kukah, then it's no longer called Kukah, it's called Kukim, okay? And so one of the things that I found in my study this week is that the Most High is going to let us know what the Kukim is and how they're connected to the Mishpatim, the rulings of Yah. So you have the decrees that are going into the rulings of the Most High. So again, all of this has been written. Okay. And it's been written in the heavens and it's been written for us. But this in particular verse opens up with in Deuteronomy chapter number 4, it says Ra'eh. And that right there is a command. And that command is to see. Okay. That's the command. So Moshe is telling the children of Israel that I want you to literally look at, observe, give a keen sense of paying attention and focus to what I have taught you. Okay. He said, I have imparted, meaning that I have taught you. That's what this word here in Hebrew is. It's called limati right here. And that means to teach. It's not just imparting them, just speaking to them, actually teaching them. I have taught you the kukim, right? Not the kukah, but the kukim, which is the many of the kukas, right? The comes to be kukim. I've taught you the mishpatim. I've taught you the rulings, right? So if you know, mishpat would be one, and then mishpatim would be many. So there's many rulings of Most High. There's many decrees of the Most High. So he said, I've taught you these, and I want you to see this. I really want you to pay attention to this and focus on what I've been teaching you, because as the eternal, my Elohim, speaking, he says that just like has commanded Yahweh. Yahweh is the eternal one who has, which is my Elohim, has taught you, and he wants you to do what? He wants you to la'asot. He wants you to do. Okay, it says abide here, but it means to do. So we're supposed to do the laws, the kukim and the mishpatim, which would be the laws and the rulings, inside of the land. This is something we need to pay very careful attention to, okay? Because the question always comes up, well, can we do the laws, the kukim? Can we get the mishpatim? Can we do the laws and the rulings while we're in exile? And the answer to that is no. There's no way that you can possibly pull off the laws and the statutes and the commandments in accordance to what has been written, because the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, the mishpatim and the kukim, okay, are for the land. That's what it's for. Okay. So again, when we get emotional and we get religious, we want to remove the idea of the land. And we're saying, well, we're going to prove to Elohim that while we're in the land of our exile, that we're going to try to keep his kukim. We're going to try to keep his mishpatim. And so because we're trying to do that, then we're doing it. And trying and doing are two different ideas. Okay. And the kukim and the mishpatim were not designed to be kept in exile. So I'm not trying to discourage us. I'm not trying to say that, you observing the Shabbat or guarding the Shabbat is not, in accordance with the Most High said, but we're not keeping the Shabbat the way the Most High wants. Okay. We're giving our effort because we're in exile. So the rules, yes, Azania.
Okay, so I was having this conversation with an elder in this walk, and we were talking about it because we were speaking as to someone who doesn't, another elder, a grand elder, right? That doesn't believe that we're supposed to keep Shabbat or honor any of the Moedims. And so even with you saying what you said, I mean, how do you fit that into what happened to the book of Daniel and Abednego and Shadrach and the things that happened to them when in captivity? They said that no, we're not going to eat the foods. We're not going to eat the foods. We're not going to worship the idols. And what
That's
happened?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. And I thank you so much for it. It's time to have a discussion, right? So, all right. So let's take Daniel, for example. Daniel was able to, and him and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were forced with the idea of eating something unclean. Okay. And what they did was they made a request. And the request was based on a period of time. And if I'm not mistaken, it had to have been 10 days. They wanted to give me at least 10 days because, let's see what happens. But they requested that, and that was granted to them. Okay. So they had to ask permission to keep the law of the dietary law. But in terms of the Shabbat was not kept. The terms of prayer, they were able to pray. So there's certain things that they're able to do. But again, you look at the fact that they were in captivity, they had to ask permission. Just like if one was to say, I want to keep the Shabbat, they'd have to ask permission from their masters to tell them or ask them for their permission to keep the Shabbat, right? To in terms of making an observation of it. When I say keep it, what I'm saying is the word keep in Hebrew means to guard. That's what it means. And because we don't understand the language, okay, and I know a lot of people's like, well, you know, English is translated to Hebrew's translating to English. There's no difference. No, there are differences. Like you can see the word laws. The word law is used for kukim, is also sometimes they use it for mishpatim, sometimes they use it for Torah, sometimes they use another word. So they have all these different words that are being used, and they're being translated improperly. Okay, so when he says to do, that's the word right here. It's not to just guard, is to do. So here he says, I've been commanded to teach you so you can do them, okay, in the land. So there's a lot of decrees, like the decrees for the Levites, that you're supposed to give them the tenths of your tithes. There's a law that has to deal with the widow and the fatherless, how they're supposed to receive food. There's a law for that. There's a law for your harvesting that has to do with the land. There's a law for Shemitah, where you give the land its rest. There's a law for release at the time of what they called Jubilee or Yuvel, Jubilees. That's the law. There's a law that has to do with the judgment against somebody who commits adultery. That's a law and that's a judgment that can only be played out in the land. So what are we doing when we're in our exile? And that's always the question. What we're doing is, according to what the Most High has said to us about exile in Deuteronomy chapter number 4, if we continue to read in that chapter, he says there's going to come a time where you're going to remember, right? And you're going to turn back to the Creator, and you're going to listen to what he says. He never says that you're going to do. He says you're just going to listen to his voice. That's what you're going to do. You're going to return to his voice. Returning to the Most High's voice doesn't mean that you're carrying out everything he said. It means that you've taken everything he said in consideration. So when you and I are in observation of the Shabbat today, well, there's other brothers and sisters who have to work. They're forced to work. Otherwise, they don't survive. They won't have a job. They won't have no food. They got to take care of their families unless they ask permission from their masters, and their masters then, which is their employer, will give them permission to try to make some type of what I would say observation of that, meaning to guard the Shabbat. What we're doing right now, everyone, is we're guarding the day. You're not doing the day, you're guarding the day. What do I mean by guarding it? Well, you're ensuring that I'm not doing the work. I'm not doing that. I'm guarding it by, keeping it set apart from all other days. I don't treat it like every other day. I'm not doing my own business on this day. I'm not interested in buying or selling. I'm not doing any of these things. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So the laws of Yah are designed. I need you to understand this very carefully. They're designed for the entry into the land. That's what they were designed for. Okay. Are you going to have the laws of marriage right now? Can we pull off the laws of marriage? We're doing it the way that we know how to do it, but we're not doing it the way it's written. We're not. You can't, like in this land right now, a man tries to have a second wife. He can't. It's against their law. You can't have it. If your daughter was playing the prostitute, can you take her outside, especially from the tribe of Levi? If you knew that, she would be burned, set on fire, burned to a crisp. Can you do that? No. Can you take someone who's involved in idolatry or adultery and take them out and stone them? No, you can't do that. But that's what Yah's law calls for. That's what his judgment calls for. Okay. So we're not able to fully keep everything the Most High is saying. He's just bringing it to our attention. He's letting us know that when you were in your land, you didn't do the mishpatim. You didn't do the rulings that I gave you. When you were in the land, you did not keep the decrees that were specified for the land. That's why you're put in exile. So the Most High returns us to the Torah so we can look and so we can see what we have not done. He's teaching us this so we can understand that these are his laws and understand where you are. So you'll know the difference between your land and the land of your enemies. You'll understand the difference between Yahweh and the God of the land that you're in. See, today they're celebrating their 250 years of being in existence. This is not a celebration for us. This is for them. This is for their God. They're a Christian nation. That's their God. Okay. So we have to understand that guarding Yah's Sabbaths, guarding the diet is what we're supposed to do. That's something inherently that we have to do. Guard that. Okay. But doing it the way that he said is not happening yet because we're in a state of uncleanness and you're not in your land. And Yahweh is not in this land. He's not here. You don't have a temple to go to. You don't have a priesthood to go to. You may put some elders together, and those elders have different opinions, and that's fine. I'm not speaking ill of the elders. What I'm saying is the elders would all say what I'm saying right now. We don't have the Most High present with us. We don't have the leadership that Yah has put in place. We don't have the high priest to go in on our behalf and to atone for the indiscretions that we've made against the temple, not for ourselves or each other, but for the temple. We don't have that. We don't have the red heifer. We don't have the place where the ashes are set to the side. We don't have the one who's taking the cedar wood and the scarlet yarn and dipping it inside there and sprinkling on the people. Yah is showing that there's a clear difference between where you are and where you were. Okay, so the commandments and the kukim are for the land. Okay, now listen, this is still in chapter number 4. He's continuing. I didn't want to just tell you about, hey, see what these are, but I got you else yet. He said, I want you to observe them faithfully. Now look up at the top in Hebrew. That word observation means shamar, and shamar means guard. You need to guard them faithfully. Okay. Observing is guardianship. Guard what he's saying, right? While you're in your land, for that will be proof of your wisdom and your discernment to other peoples. That's going to be your wisdom and that's going to be your understanding. They use the word discernment, but it's understanding who, on hearing of all these kukim, that's that law right there. It says right here, if you look at the top, it's right here. Yishma the Kol HaKukim. Here it is. I'm circling it right here. HaKukim, right here. The Kate, the Kof, and the Im, Kukim. So all the decrees, they have laws here, but they're decrees. They're going to hear about these decrees. They're going to hear about the decrees. And they're going to say, surely, they're using the word surely here, but in Hebrew, it's rock, and rock means only. Only that great nation is a wise and discerning people. Only that nation, not individual, nation is wise and discerning people. We get our wisdom and our discernment from what? From guarding, observing what? The kukim of the Torah. That's how it says that you're going to, people are going to see your wisdom and your discernment. It's evidence of your wisdom. So the Most High is showing us this about what he wanted them to do is the proof and the evidence of your wisdom and your discernment. So clearly, logically, we know that guess what? If you and I did not guard observe them faithfully, then the Most High took away the wisdom and the discernment. And therefore, you are not being looked at by other people for your wisdom and discernment because you're not in your land. They'll be looking at you while you're in your land and how you're operating as a nation. The nation is great, not just the individual, not just the tribe, not just the family. It is the nation that is wise and discerning on how they're moving. So right now, going back to the example that Azania mentioned about the elders, and they're talking, and some elders are saying, no, you can't do this, and others saying, yeah, we're going to do this and then that. There's too much confusion among the nation. And because there's confusion and no one really can observe, which is the guard, completely guard the kukim, then you and I don't have the wisdom and the discernment as a nation of people. No one can look at us and say, you guys are Israel, you have your own land, you're following what the Most High said. So right now, we've been put out of service. And it's painful to think about, and it's depressing in a lot of sense. You know, a lot of senses. It's very upsetting to know that, wait a minute, you know, I am putting forth effort, but our effort, okay, is a one that has begun. It's not like it's complete, okay? It's where you and I are starting to learn how to guard. So we've been sent into our exile so you and I can find out whether or not you do want to guard it. So when you're trying to keep the Shabbat, Yah says, I see that. I see. I'm watching you. I see that you're trying to guard what I said. Can you be faithful over it? No, because you're not able to do it in the land. So the purpose of you understanding the Kukim today is not so you can keep it faithfully here, because that would be antithetical to why they were created in the first place. The Most High gave it to a people, a nation of people who he wanted to be recognized by other peoples to say that they're a wise and discerning people because of all the Kukim that the nation as a whole is doing. Not some of them, all of the nation, all the people, all the leaders, all the men, all the women. So, does this negate the fact that you and I can call upon wisdom? That would be the question. Because if the Kukim is what gives you wisdom, as here, which is included in the Torah, he said, I'm the one who taught you. I was commanded by the Most High to teach you so you can look at what I'm teaching you, so you can guard them faithfully, so you can have the wisdom and discernment. So the Torah is what's going to give you your wisdom and discernment, your wisdom and your understanding. That's where it comes from, the Torah. So the Torah and wisdom and understanding are one and the same. They're synonymous. They may have different names, but they are exactly the same with the same purpose. So it is wisdom calling. That's what wisdom does. She's calling. Understanding is raising her voice. Now, when I looked at this in this week's Torah portion, I thought to myself, is wisdom and understanding something different? Is wisdom different than understanding? Yes, they are. They operate totally different, but they are connected. Okay, and I have to explain this to you so you can see it. Okay, and we'll take at face value what it says, what she actually says. Wisdom is feminine, and I got to tell you who she is, and I got to tell you who understanding is. And they're all her. She's raising her voice. Right? And so why is she raising her voice? Because she's going to speak to us, because wisdom speaks in chapter number 8 of Proverbs. So if you ever want to know what wisdom is saying, then go to chapter number 8 of Proverbs, and you will find out what she's saying. We got a little smidget of what she said, okay, today. So wisdom in Hebrew is called kokmah, okay? And what kokmah is, it has a whole bunch of different ideas in it, okay? The first part of it is kok, and kok means power, okay? The next part is ma. That's what it means. And here's ma right here. Ma is asking a question. That word ma is used to ask a question like, what is it? Like mana, you know, when they say, what is this? Or, you know, ma, what are you doing? Okay. Or lama, why have this happened to us? Okay. So kokma, which is wisdom, is the power to ask questions. The word ma comes from the Hebrew idea of water because it's the first letter right here. Excuse me. Water is in there right here. This letter right here is water. Okay. That's the first letter. Okay. The second part of this is that water, when the Hebrews thought about water, they thought about a place that was unknown. What they're talking about is the seas. And that's why they're asking a question like, what's in there? Or what is it? So that's where the word ma comes from the idea of what is it? Because they were afraid of the water. They never swam in the water because it was deep, it was dark, and they didn't know what was in it. It's a whole nother world. They know nothing about it. So the idea of wisdom is something that is unknown. Just like the sea, you just don't know. So if you want to find out what's in there, inside of the sea, the water, the body of water. You'd have to go inside of the water and you'd have to go deep and you'd have to investigate. And the only way you can do that is you have to get over your fear. Because what we don't know is what scares us. You understand? So wisdom is provided, and she's asking the question. She's always asking questions, and she's always talking and proclaiming what she can do to help us to navigate through the unknown. Okay? Because if you don't have wisdom, then of course you're going to go through life in a very fearful state because you don't know. You don't know what something means. Okay. So you need wisdom to help you navigate through life. Okay. So if you notice, again, you got kokma, the ah. That's why it's identified as something feminine. Wisdom is feminine. Okay. Like they have in the Greek, it's called Sophia. Okay. Fia. That's what they have a word for their wisdom. So the kokma is not Sophia. Okay. So if you look in the Greek, they have a word called Sophia. Okay. And Sophia is the word that they use for wisdom. But the word Sophia, philosophy comes from the word Sophia. So the Greek mind is one of philosophy. That's why it's so abstract. The Hebrew mind is not of the philosophy. It's not. It does ask questions about the unknown because it's looking for answers. So what wisdom does is she helps us understand to get the answer. Okay? To get over the fear about what you don't know. Okay? So the children of Israel full of fear while they're going through the wilderness, and I'm going to show that to you today. Okay? The other part of this word that she said that she says understanding, right? Understanding. Tavuna is understanding. And what understanding means is to build. That's where, and it's found in its Hebrew word, tavuna, okay? This word right here, this letter right here has to do with building. This one right here has to do with a seed. So here's the seed and here's a tent panel. So the ancient Hebrew is always talking about a tent and a family, okay? So the tent, over time, the tent has a whole bunch of walls that they put together. So every time they have a wall, they would put it here, and here's another wall right here, and that's how they built the tent. And they built the tent out of goat hair. And as time goes on, the sun would hit the goat hair, and it would make the goat hair kind of like, dilapidate, and it would burn it out and make it kind of like useless. Okay, so the rays of the sun hits the tent all the time. And so they would say, oh, you know what? This part right here is worn out. This one right here, these two are worn out right here. So what we got to do is we got to replace those tent panels because they've been getting beaten by the sun. So now it's oxidized, it's falling apart. So what they would do is they would take the tent panels out of the side of the tent and use it as a board inside of the floor of the tent where they walk on. And then they would go ahead and build another tent panel. And then they would take the new tent panel and insert it into the old one where the one was, so it's replacing it. Okay. So let's make a connection. You can't replace something until you fully understand how it works. And you can't understand something or how something works unless you have wisdom. You have to be able to ask the questions about what you don't know. Okay. When you find out how things work, you're going to have to adapt. You got to make some adaptations. You're going to have to change some things. So understanding means that you know that some things are going to have to be changed. Okay. Going back to the idea of the building of the tent panel, when something wears out on the tent, and the tent represents the family, okay, they're saying that the seed is part of it, which is a continuation of the family. And you get your seed, it'll be your sons and your daughters. Okay. In order for the tent to continue, you need sons and daughters. Okay. The sons in Hebrew are called a bane, which is the B in Hebrew and then a noon. The daughters in the Hebrew are called a benot. They're here a Nun, and a Tav. Okay. They both share the same root, which is to build the seed or to continue. So the idea of the 10th panel that wears out and replaced is like replacing a son, someone who got old and died. And now the next son has to come in and replace it, like you saw in your Torah portion. When Aharon died, Eleazar took his place. When Eleazar died, Pinchas took his place. And so it's for their family, the structure. So sons and daughters are the builders of the family, of the tent. So of course, if we would look at this agriculturally, the sun represents the time frame. The sun is always going to be out, and the rays of the sun destroys and ages the tent panel. Okay, just like it does us. The seed gets destroyed over time. It gets old and worn out. And so you have, in order for you to continue the family, you have to build, you got to continue building the family. You have to continue to adapt to the changes. Okay, and you do that by having sons and daughters. Okay, so that's the basis of understanding. Understanding is dealing with building family. Okay, in order for you to continue, because that's what a seed does. A seed sprouts. Okay, so the man holds the seed, he puts it inside of the woman, the seed grows and it sprouts, and then the seed comes out, and then, you know, it's continuing. And then it grows and grows and grows until the sun wears it out, like the sun burns the grass. Okay. So we have agricultural terms. We have how they live with the, you know, the agrarian terms, how they lived in tents. We have the nomadic lifestyle that they had, right? So we have to understand, no pun intended, we have to understand how to build our families. And you need wisdom and you need understanding in order to continue. In order to be a great nation, one is going to have to understand how to build and adapt with their sons and their daughters, because it's always going to be about family. Always. It's about Yah's family. It's about our family. It's about individual families. Our nation is just one big family. You understand? It's under Yah's tent. Okay. And so he is the master of that tent. So wisdom is encouraging us, and she's telling us that, look, you need to ask questions. You need to learn how to build. Like when Azania asked a question, I said, that was a great question. That's wise. A person who's not asking questions is not a wise person. A person who's just talking to be talking and not asking questions and not really trying to figure out the why behind it is not a wise person. Of course, there's different intentions and different tones that one can ask, right? One can ask in a very argumentative way, which we see in our Torah portion is a bad way to ask questions. But there's another way on how you could ask questions. The Most High doesn't have a problem with us asking questions. It's how we ask those questions. What's our intent? That's the problem. Okay. So hopefully you can understand, you can see that understanding is talking about a family. It's talking about replacing the family with sons and daughters. It's talking about skill. It's talking about intelligence. It's talking about know-how. So you need these things, okay, in order to have wisdom and understanding. So in order to be a great nation, you got to know how to build a family. You have to adapt, okay, to change. In the same chapter in Proverbs, it says something. And you said, well, this wasn't in our Torah portion, but yes, it is. It is. You just got to look for it, okay? This is what wisdom said. This is what Kokma said, because that's what we're going to call her. Kokma, that's her name. This is what she said. She said, in righteousness, okay, and the Zedek right here is righteousness. She said, all my words of my mouth. Okay, so wisdom speaks. Like I told you, chapter number 8 is about wisdom speaking. So we see that wisdom is not just asking questions, but wisdom is about how you ask those questions. Wisdom is about the speech that's being used. So what she's trying to teach us is on how to speak. That's what she's teaching. Teaching us that so if you not wisdom, we have to learn that when we speak, we have to speak in righteousness. All of our words that come out of our mouth because she's imploring us to seek her and to ask her so she could teach us what we need to know. She says, in all the words of my mouth, there, and I left it in Hebrew so I can give you the complete understanding. Ain, there is not, okay? There is not in them, what? In her words, there is no perversity and there is no crookedness in her speech. So what do you and I can learn from this? Well, you say, well, I don't know the Hebrew. Forget about all that. Just understand what she's saying. She's saying, if you're going to be wise, and if you ask a question or you speak and say something, you have to do it in righteousness. And none of our words, none of your words, and none of her words can ever have any perversity to them. And they can't have any crookedness to them. They always have to be upright and they always have to be straight, because anything outside of that is crooked. Anything outside of that is wicked. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what she's teaching. Wisdom is not something that we parade around. We actually got to have a relationship with wisdom, because wisdom was with the Most High when he created the heavens and the earth. She said, before there was any mountains, I was there. I was the delight with the sons of men. She was there before there was any deep, before there was even any earth, and before anything. She was there. So we're encouraged to listen to her words, to be instructed by these words. And that's in order for us to become a wise and understanding people. So wisdom is just not something we attach to ourselves. Wisdom is something that you and I embrace and we adopt and we adapt to. It's something that we take serious. And it begins with words, with the words that she's saying to tell us, well, this is how I am. All of my words are pure. All of them are in righteousness. All of my words, all of them, there doesn't exist. This word here means there is not. There doesn't exist any perversity or crookedness in anything that I say. So if you and I are speaking something that is perverse or crooked and it's not in righteousness, then clearly we're not speaking in wisdom. We're speaking from a position of being a fool. She says, mine are counsel, right? Resourcefulness. I am understanding. Now that blew me away. I have to confess to you that I thought wisdom and tavuna were totally different. Wisdom and tavuna are the same. It's just another name. That's all it is. She says it right here. This is the evidence. She says, I and Dawid as a witness can tell you that ani means I in Hebrew. Dawid, are you listening? Dawid?
Yes, I'm listening. And I can verify ani does mean
Verify.
I. Yep.
It means I. It means first person, right? Okay,
Absolutely.
so then guess what she calls herself? I am Bina, which is the root for Tavuna. She's saying, I am wisdom. I'm understanding. That's what wisdom said. Okay. Kokma said, I am Bina. That's what I am. So they're not separate. They're one and the same. Okay, here's an example. I say Jacob. You know, when I say Israel, am I still talking about Jacob? Yes, I'm still talking about Jacob. When I say Avram and I say Avraham, am I still talking about Avraham? Yes. When I say Sarai and then I say Sarah, am I talking about the same individual? Yes, I am. You understand? When I say Yisrael and I say Yeshurun, am I talking about the same individual? Yes, I am. When I say Shalomo and I say Yediyahu, Yedajah, which is his Hebrew name, okay? I'm talking about the same individual. So there are individuals in the Torah and in the Tanakh that have two different names, but they're the same people, okay? Just like Moshe's father-in-law, he had a name called Yethro and he had another name called Reuel, okay? So people go by multiple names. They're still the same person, okay? So when she says that I am wisdom, I am understanding. She said, I'm understanding, and courage is mine. It belongs to me. To me is Gavura. You see the ah right there? Ah, right here. Gavura, meaning I am a mistress. I'm a powerful one. Okay? That's what she is. And the Eitzah here is the counsel. So when she's dealing with us, she's telling us that, guess what? I'm here to counsel you. Okay. I'm here to help you learn how to be resourceful. And I'm going to give you, and I am understanding. Okay. And anytime that you need to be a master of something or to master it, you have to have courage to do it. It's mine too. I'll give that to you as well. But we have to stay in the context of what? We have to stay in the context of what she said earlier, which was this. She said that my words, all of my words, from my mouth, there is no perversity and there is no crookedness. Do you understand? In righteousness, I speak all of my words. So you and I have to have that same mindset when we're dealing with wisdom. Okay, so this is literally about our words. That's what this is about. It's about our speech. And we don't know these things because we've never been taught them, and no one's ever brought this to our attention. Okay, so now, what else does she? Final point that she says, my food is better than gold, fine produce better than choice silver. She's using this metaphoric language to describe what her speech is like. That's what she's using. Okay. And she's telling you this language in order for you to kind of get an idea. She said, my fruit and my produce. Okay. So when you and I begin to listen to wisdom and we're not speaking in perversity and crookedness, and all of our words, every last one of them are in righteousness, then you're going to produce a certain type of fruit. The fruit is your words. That's your speech, because you're using words when you speak. Okay. So your fruit are your words. Okay. That's your words. That's what you're producing. Okay. Because you are a tree. Okay. And then it says that you're planted. And she said, my produce comes from the ground. Okay. So fruit comes from a tree. Produce comes from the ground. The ground is your actions. So you have what you say and you have your actions as well, what you do. So if you and I are going to listen to wisdom, right? And all of our words begin to be in righteousness, then your words will be more expensive and more valuable than gold, fine gold. Our actions will be more expensive and more valuable than silver. So in this example here, she tells us that literally my fruit is as gold. The fruit is what, of course, is the words are more valuable than just your actions, is what we say that has more power than what we do. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's your words that hold power. It's your words that you need to be concerned with. It is your imre. It is your words. It's your speech that has to be looked at and examined. Because surely only that great nation is a wise and discerning people. Okay. Not that your actions don't have any value, they do, but what you say is more valuable than what you do. Okay. Here's the example. Most High comes to Moshe and he tells him, hey, I want you to bring the people to me. I want to have an agreement with them. Moshe goes down, he shows the people, tells them exactly what Yah said, and the people respond. What did the people say? Somebody tell me, what did the people tell the Most High?
All that you say, I mean, we'll do. That they was gonna
We
do.
will do.
Yeah.
So they gave their word to the Most High. Your words are more valuable than your actions. They hold more weight. That's what the Most High is holding us to. You looked in your Torah portion last week and the week before, and your Haftarah this week. It's about what's being said, and it's how it's being said that's the issue. This is where the debate comes in. Okay, there was a debate that was going on in our Torah portion, and debate happens with words. It's the words that get you to do the action, because that's what's in you. It's the words that you speak that are the ones that have more value. So it's the debate. It's the argument. That's what you saw in your Torah portion. That argument in Hebrew is called a reeve. And basically, a reeve is something that we've discussed before, but we discussed it as being a rav. So I told you last week there's a rav, which is a master. Like rabbi or rav, he's a master. Well, here, this is called a reeve. Okay. The reeve is the R right here is the head. The hand is right here, the yod, and then the bet right there is the house. So what does the head and the hand and the house have in common? Well, you have the head of the house, which is the Rav, and then the hand is the individual who's raised their hand against the creator or the master. Okay. The Rav is the master, and the master's job is to rule, right? But in any situation, you're always going to have someone who's going to bring a debate against the master's rulership. They're always going to challenge this. This is indicative of what you would call a rebel. A rebel is someone who says, I don't want the authority of my master. My master has the way that they rule it, and I don't like it. So because I won't rule that way, or because they're not my rules, I'm going to do it my way and you do it your way. I don't want to do it your way. That is a rebel going against the authority. The rule of someone is their authority. So let's make sense of it. A Rav is the master. Okay. A Reeve is someone who brings an argument against the master. They raise their hand against the master. Here's the hand. And a hand is used to start a fight, an argument, and contention. Now, check this out. A Reeve is not actually, let me explain this way. If it says the hand, so you're thinking now, okay, this person has assaulted the master. No. The hand is used to describe the action of the person, right? But the action of the person is, I'm hostile against the master. And the way that you show that you're hostile against the master is by causing a reeve, by causing a debate or an argument. That's how you raise your hand against your master. This is what the children of Israel has done. They couldn't physically take their hand and go hit the Most High. They can't do that. But what they did use is they used their mouth. They used their words to bring a reeve against the master, to bring an argument against the one who's guiding them and telling them that this is the way I want to do it. They're going against the head of the house. The head of the house is the Rav. It's the master. It's the one who's increased in abundance. The house is the tent, which is the family. Anytime there's an individual inside of a tent or a family or a house or a tribe or a nation, and more specifically Yahweh's household, and they start speaking and talking against what the Most High says and who he put in charge and who he is using to rule them, then there is a problem. That is, they say, a debate. It's an argument. It's an aggression. That's what happened in our Torah portion. So we see that it was their words that caused them to be bitten by the fiery serpents. If you notice, the Most High used the fiery serpents to bite them with their mouths. And when they bit them, they died. And a lot of them still had the consequences of that. There was burns in them. They were, when they got bit, it was burning them. It said it was burning the wounds were burning. And that was that bite right there. And that burn was to remind them that they went against and they spoke against their master. That happened because of the debate against the creator. Who is the master? They raised their hand by having a conversation, using their words. Your words are more valuable than your actions. Meaning, I don't need to use my hand to go against the Most High. People think that they're not rebelling against the Most High because they say, I'm not hostile towards him, because I'm not, I'm not taking the Torah and I'm not burning it. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. No, your rebellion against the Most High is in your conversation, is what you say. The Most High said, this is the way it is. And you turn around and say, no. You're rebelling against the Most High when he says that I put you in exile, you're unclean. You say, no, I'm not. You're rebelling against the Most High when you say that the white man and the nations did this to me. No, they didn't. He said, I did. Everything he says, you're going against. You're raising your hand against the Most High. You're a rebel. If the Most High has said that someone is in authority, your husband's in authority over you, and you say, no, he's not. He's stupid. And Most High put me in charge because the men were incapable of doing it. You must be a fool because it's the Most High who has put that man in charge. You're a fool. You don't understand. You are in a reeve. You are in a debate. And you're going against the master, and you're going against the one that he has put to rule over you. When you have a child, a son or a daughter that goes against their mother or their father, you must be a fool because the Most High has put them over you to rule you. And anytime you open your mouth to go against your mother and the father, according to the laws of the Most High, they cannot be executed in this land that we're in, says that the moment that your daughter or your son says anything against what you said, they don't have to curse you. They can discount what you have said. And that is rebellion, and the punishment and the judgment for that is to be put to death. Well, you can't do it right now because you're not in your land. Well, when you get to the land, when you get to the wilderness, that's where they're going to be put to death. Because they think that they're going to escape. They think that the conversation and the speech and the debate in which they're having right now is not being documented. That's what we think. We think the stuff that we're saying is not being notated. When the Most High tells us to do something, any type of opposition against it is a reeve. You think that's going to go unchecked. It's not going to go unchecked. It's not, because we have lifted up our hand through our conversation against the master of the house. And you have to be a fool. You can't be wise. This is the reason why wisdom is trying to encourage us to listen to her. Because she said, my words are in righteousness. So if it's in righteousness, that righteousness has to be according to what has been written by the Most High. Because she said, I was with him from the beginning. So who is righteousness? Who is wisdom? Wisdom is the Torah. Wisdom is the Torah. Because you cannot receive wisdom and understanding without the Torah. Wisdom is the Torah. Wisdom is the tree of life that you see in the book of, Proverbs. Torah is the instructions. She's the one who's saying, listen to me and I'll give you wisdom. I'll teach you. So you'll learn how to live. So you won't make the mistake of going against the master of the house. Here's the debate. I want you to pay careful attention so you can understand the theme of Chukat HaTorah. It says only if we had perished when our brothers perished by Yahweh's will. This was a reeve right here. They were upset because it wasn't going the way that they wanted. They weren't going where they wanted to be. Look at their words. These are all words. Okay. Hebrew, lama, meaning why. Why means lama, means why. The unknown. They're asking a question. Why have you brought Yahweh's congregation into the wilderness for us and our livestock to die here? Talking about Aharon and Moshe. Then I don't put the other words. I didn't have to go through that and put the other ones where they said, what's this useless bread that you gave us? And they're talking to both Yahweh and Moshe because Aharon was dead. That's when the Most High sent those snakes after them. See? So it's always about what someone is saying. So you really don't have to do anything. You can say something. Do you understand? And you can say and do. But primarily, if you say something, remember, the Most High listens to what we say. So they're asking a question. But look at the tone that they're asking. Here's another one they said. Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us into this wretched place? A place of no grain, figs, vines, pomegranates. There is not even water to drink. They making that to Moshe and the Most High. So they're speaking against the master. Their words. In your Torah portion, there was other words that were used by the kings, the king of Edom. They sent messengers to them to find out could they pass through, and they sent back a message with their words and say no. And then what did it cause? It caused them to say, if you come, then they brought out their armies against them, which a reeve, it causes contention, an argument, a debate, which brings hostility. So Yah's letting us know through wisdom that when you are talking, you got to be careful how you use your words, because You can cause contention. You're going to cause an argument. And it's always going to start with what someone says. It's the speech. Now, not only the people of Israel had a speech, but Moshe had a speech, him and his brother Aaron. Check this out, because it's all about the words, what we say. That's what this is about. It says in Psalms 106:33 as a reference, it says they provoked the wrath at the waters of Meribah. Okay. Meribah was where they were demanding the water. Okay. This word Mary right here means bitterness. Okay. That's what it means. Waters of bitterness, argument, contention. Inside of the word Meribah, you have another word, Reeve. It's R-I-B, but it's exactly the same, because when you speak it by itself, it's Reeve. The last letter is a V sound. But if it's in the middle of a word, it'll be a B instead of a V. It's just a sound. So one makes a hard B sound, the other one makes a V sound. So it's Reeve. So here I would be Reeve, Reeb, but here's Reeve. See, they're very similar. So anytime the bet is in the middle of a word, it's going to give you a B sound. I mean, a V sound, excuse me. It's going to give you a V sound. So Mariva. So Mariva is the place of bitterness. That's this right here, Mary. Then you got the Reeve right here, which is contention and argument. And then the which deals with the soul. Okay. So what I need to explain to this, I already talked about Reeve. I already talked about going against the master. That R right there is the resh. That B right, that yod right here is this one right here. That I is that one. And here's the bet right here. That's Reeve. Same word we just covered. This is the master, which is the Rav. He's the master of the house. And the one who raises his hand against the master is the one who's bringing contention. Okay. So that's what that is. So the waters are the place that is a reminder of the contention of the soul and arguing with the master. And it says Moshe suffered on their account. He suffered on their account. Their account of what? Of the people they were saying what they were saying. Because remember, they're saying, why'd you bring us? Why we're going to die? Blah, 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 blah. All these words. He's in this speech that they made, he says, because they rebelled against Elohim. They were rebels. It said he spoke thoughtlessly. Who spoke thoughtlessly? Moshe did. So what did he do? He spoke before he thought. Speaking before thinking. That's the theme. Speaking before thinking can get you in trouble. Okay. So why did Moshe get in trouble? He got in trouble because he spoke thoughtlessly. It doesn't mention that he struck the rock here in this text. It said he spoke thoughtlessly. So the Most High was not only concerned with his actions, but he was concerned with his thoughts. And that's what you and I didn't know. We thought because he struck the rock. No. He's did it before. What happened was he spoke without thinking. That's what happened. Okay. So this gives us a little bit more context about what it is, okay, that happened at this place of contention. Because that was in our Torah portion. Now, here's the cold part. Here's the part that messed me up. This is what Moshe said, him and his brother. Listen, you rebels, shall we get water for you out of this rock? That's where Psalms 106 said he spoke without thinking. So he calls the people rebels, which they are, but then he says something, we get. Shall we get water from out of this rock? Okay. This is a Merivah. This is the place of the rock, the place of contention. So the word for we get right here is notzei. Okay. They're saying, are we the ones who are going to bring this out to you? Okay. And he called them rebels. That's what he called them. The Hamorim, like a Ha-Moreh. A Ha-Moreh is a teacher. Okay. So very close. Ha-Moreh. Ha-Moreh is a teacher. Okay. The Ha-Morim is the rebels. Very close to how the words sound. Okay. Moreh, Morim. So Ha-Morim, not Ha-Moreh, Ha-Morim. So these, he calls them rebels, the rebels. Very definite article, meaning that you guys are the rebels. Okay. He didn't say just rebels. He said the rebels. Okay. Now, here's the part of the speech that's amazing. He called them rebels. A rebel is someone that, from a Hebraic perspective, it talks about, of course, you look at the letters and you try to find out, well, what does, a rebel mean? What does it really mean? Again, we don't want to just go with abstract terms like, rebel. Rebel's an abstract term. You really don't know what it is. And that's the purpose of the Hebrew language, is to explain to us what a rebel really looks like and what does it really mean. Because a rebel can be anything. Some people say that you're a rebel because you want to fight for justice. You're a rebel because you're going against evil authorities. You're a rebel because, you're standing up against, abuse. So there's all different types of, ways that people define being a rebel. But in Hebrew, the word rebel comes from this word called mara. Okay, kind of sounds like Mary or Miriam. Her name has to do with rebel. Her name has to do with bitterness. And what it's talking about is, in the first letter of Morim or Mara, you have water. Okay, I put the Hebrew letter next to the English letter so you'll kind of know what letter I'm talking about. Okay, so the Hebrew letter here, right here, is this in English. Okay, the Hebrew letter R looks like this, and this is what it looks like in English. The Hebrew letter Hey, which is right here, this H on the end, is what it looks like in English. Okay, they look a little similar too, don't they? They look kind of alike. All right, so what it is that when it talks about a rebel, it's talking about water. Okay, it's talking about a certain type of water. Okay, and it's talking about the head of water. So in the agriculture or the idea of water, water always has a beginning point. And so water flows down, right? Down a stream. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm going from north to south. The water's flowing in a river. Okay. And then once this water is flowing, something happens where there are some branches that may get in the way of the water stream, like someone like a tree or, some debris and stuff. And so it kind of blocks the way of the water. So the water's not flowing, it's being blocked. And some water is getting through, a little bit, here, like some water is kind of coming through a little bit, but not all of the flow, just a little bit. It's just kind of trickling down, right? So the brown part there is like a dam that kind of blocks stuff up, okay? And so as a result of it being blocked because of a tree or branches or something, something's blocking its flow, only a little bit of water is coming out. So the flow is stopping, okay? Now, as a result of that happening, of it being blocked, this blue water at the top begins to turn green, okay? It gets green. And the reason why it's getting green is simply because it's not flowing, okay? All right? And so the water now, its composition has changed. And then when the water changes and it's not flowing, then all of a sudden you have things in the water that begin to die. So you have the fish that begin to die over in this part right here. And then when the fish begin to die and the water is not flowing and it's just kind of stopped up, then we have a problem now, because now the water is beginning to stink from the death of the fish and the lack of flow, okay? It's kind of like having a toilet that doesn't flush, and you just keep getting stuff in there and you don't able to flush it. It begins to stink because there's no flow. There's not a continual flow, okay? There's not a flush or no flow. So in order to have fresh water, right? So you got stinky water on this side, and then the fresh water is now just trickling down through a little bit. It still has some residue of it, so it's not that fresh anymore, okay? So at one point, it was fresh and now it stinks because of the death that's in it. Once the water that comes out from the stinky water and it has a residue of the contaminated water, now as the water is contaminated, it's flowing out because everything on this side is dying. And so the water that is getting through is contaminated. Okay, so we have contamination. And this is connected to your Torah portion about when you bring that water, it has to be fresh water. And you have to dip certain things into it and activate it, okay? So it's contaminated, okay? So the water that's on this other side is contaminated. And what it is the water now is bitter, okay? Forgive my writing, it's just contaminated. So you're not getting fresh water anymore. Okay. Everything upstream, up here, here above, is fresh. But then it comes down and it gets here and then it gets contaminated and it's stinky and it's poisoned. As a result of this, you can't drink this water, and this water now is bitter. Okay. Because there's no flow and there's contamination, there's death in the water. So now it stinks and it's bitter. Now, after you get this bitterness, now you have what they call Mara. So when the Most High is talking about being a rebel, he's talking about someone who's bitter. He's talking about because the head of the water, where the water starts off, is now being blocked. It's being blocked. So the water can't flow from where it's supposed to. Okay. That's what's going on. So a person who's a rebel is a person who's bitter. They're angry about what the Creator has said. They're angry about what the Most High has he decreed through his kukim. They're angry and they're reluctant and resistant to the authority of the Creator. A person that is bitter is going against the master. They're going against the master of the house. They're angry at the Most High. They have a bitter attitude, and of course, they have bitter speech. The bitter speech is why. Tell me why then. If this is this, then why? Yeah, none of this makes sense. I don't understand why we're doing it. It's always about a question, but the intention behind it is not to really learn. The intent is to go against. So when people are having conversations and you sense that they have some type of bitterness, because sometimes it'll be shown and sometimes they can do it without, trying to make sure, that you don't realize it, but you can pick it up. You can pick it up. So the questions that are being asked, you got to ask, what is that person's intent before you actually declare them to be a rebel or to declare them to be Mara. Okay. That's what you have to understand. So contaminated water, no flow, death, stink, and not potable. You can't drink it. It becomes bitter. And that's why the Most High said that these individuals cannot go into the land. They're not going to go into the land. I hope you can understand what a rebel is. Okay. So those are the makings of a rebel, a bitter attitude. There's no flow. They're not going to flow. They're going against it. Yes.
So Moshe was considered a rebel?
Oh, yeah. You're about to, oh, here you go. Now you just opened it up. That is the next slide.
Okay.
You just opened it up.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. So let me show you who the real rebel was. Because now we're thinking that they're the rebels, which they are. Guess who the real rebel is? Yah said, I need you to let Aaron be gathered to his people, right? His kin, right? He is not to enter the land that I have assigned to you, the people of Israel, because you, okay? And this you right here is not singular. This you right here, right here, Tim. You can look it up in Hebrew. It's called Tim, T-E-M, okay? That'll be on the end of a word to tell you the plurality. It'll be the second person, because the T means you, and then it'll be plural, and it'll be masculine plural. You can look this up. You can go see, well, what is a second person masculine singular looks like? I mean, plural, 2MP in Hebrew. Just put that in Google, 2MP, and it'll tell you to be Tim right here, okay? Or in Hebrew like this, okay? It'll be Tim. If it's a female, it'll be 10. She'll have a N sound. He has an M sound. It'd be 10, okay? So that's what they use for verbs, okay? So here, the rebel, as Azania had pointed out, was Aharon and Moshe. Okay, so we have how we see the rebels and complaining, right? Now here's another form of a rebel. Okay, you're not going to go into the land because you disobeyed me. Okay, so they have the word disobeyed. Okay, that's what they have there. The word that's being used for disobeyed is being translated incorrectly. Okay. In the sense that this word here is called Meritim. Here's the M. I'll put it in English. You know what the Hebrew is. This next one right here is a R right here. Okay. And has an I between it. And then Tim, Meritim. Okay. You're Meritim. So as you can see, Mar is in there. Okay. So the Mary is the M and the R, which comes from our word Mara. Okay. The person that is a Mara, the one who's bitter, is the one who is a Marad. So Mara is performed by a Marad. A Marad is a rebel. The rebel is called a Marad. The Marad is the rebel. The rebel is the one who is Mara, who has bitterness. So the Most High said, Aharon is going to die. He's going to go die, and he's not going to enter the land, okay, that I've assigned to my people Israel. And because you, both of you, have not disobeyed, but you have rebelled, okay, you became a marad. You have maratim. You have went, a meritim, you went against me about my command, about the waters of Meribah. You look at Meribah again, here's the Mar right here, Mary again. Here's Mary up here at the top. So here's a Meritim, and here's a Meribah. One is dealing with water, and the other one is dealing with people. Okay? Most High brought them to that place because he wanted to find out who the rebels are. Most High told Moshe, go get the staff and go and speak to the rock. He didn't tell him to speak to the people. He told him to go speak to the rock. Take the staff that he used in Egypt, the one that was all the power and authority. The staff in Hebrew represents the authority of the Most High. Take the authority of Yah and bring it out there and speak by the authority that I've given, and go speak to the rock. He didn't do that. What he did is he went out there, him and his brother, and said, we. Okay? And the Most High said, because you haven't set me apart, but you are the rebel. You and your brother rebelled against me. The reason why Aharon and Moshe could not go into the land is because they were just like the people. And the previous generation, the first time that the word Marad is used in the book of Numbers is in chapter number 14, where Caleb told the children of Israel, don't rebel against the Most High. Just go in. Let's just go into the land. So what are we supposed to understand? What we're supposed to understand is, if you are they say disobedient, that's not good enough. That means lo shema, not only listening, but the fact is if you have any type of resistance and reluctance in you to do the command of the Most High, you're not going into the land. You're not going into the land. Moshe and Aharon was part of that generation that weren't allowed to go into the land. So what their attitude was, and their speech was that you guys are a bunch of rebels. They've encouraged it. Okay? I'm not putting a whole bunch on it. I'm just telling you, they put a lot on it. They said that you guys are rebels. You're the Mara. You're the bitterness. But the fact is, they said you're the Hamarim. You're the rebels. See, not me, not my brother. You are. Here's the definite article meaning the rebels. Anytime you got that letter in the front, it means the directly. And in Hebrew, it's an arrow that's pointing directly to who you're talking to. So you're not a rebel, you're the rebel. You are the rebels. But the Most High is clearly showing us that they're not only the rebels. The rebels were Aharon and Moshe. They're the ones. And what happened was, when it says Moshe spoke thoughtlessly, okay? So part of rebellion is speaking without thinking. Okay? Part of rebellion is not just what you do, it's what you say. So the people that are telling us the things that they're saying, they have to be careful. Yes, Azania.
Okay, so Moshe Moshe says to he says to our ancestors, you're the reason that I'm not going to the land. I say that, correct? Because of you,
Yeah, he does say
I
that.
don't get to go into the home. Right, yeah. So it's like he here Moshe was the most humble man that seems like he doesn't accept the fact that he rebelled and it was the reason that he couldn't go into the land.
Well,
So I don't
the
know.
rebellion,
I always get confused at what happened to Moshe and Aharon. And
yes,
it really makes me think, like, are any of us going to get in the land? That's how it
that's what
feels.
that's the yeah, but that's the whole point. I'm glad you're asking that question. That's wisdom. I'm glad you're asking that question because that's the reason why the Most High is teaching us. He's telling you, me, and everyone who's listening, you, if you rebel against me, you're not going into the land. When the children of Israel rebelled against the Most High about going into the land in chapter number 14, they had a bitterness about the land. They had a bitterness about Yah and his commandments. They didn't want to do what he says. So they didn't go in. Moshe and Aharon were in a position to lead the people, but he's saying, why should I have you lead a people into the land when you're just like the people that I just sentenced to death? He just sentenced all that whole generation to death based on what Aharon and Moshe just did. If you look carefully at what the Most High said, let me see if I find it. You rebel to not say, okay, that's what they said. Let me show you what Yah said. Okay. That's what they said. Let me show you what Yah said. I haven't got to that slide. That's why. All right. So let's clear it up. I'm going to make it very clear why. Okay. So here this was the last slide we was on, saying that he said, you rebelled against me. It's not you disobeyed. They got that word in English, disobey. No. Disobey means you didn't listen to me. No. You did listen to me, but you went against what I said. You're in bitterness. You spoke. It was about his speech. Okay. Now, this is the reason why Moshe wasn't able to go in, and the reason why Aharon didn't go in is in the language. He says, because you did not trust me enough to affirm my sanctity in the sight of Israel, or the Israelite people, therefore you shall not lead this congregation to the land I'm giving them. Okay. So I looked and I said, okay, well, let's go look at it and let's understand it. This word here in English or in Hebrew is called ya'an, and ya'an is because in English. Okay. But there's also another word for because in Hebrew. It's called ki. Totally different. Totally different. There's all different types of words that are being used. This word in particular right here, just looking at the letters, told me the story. Okay. If it's used for because, he's letting you know the reason. Okay. The reason why is because the first is a hand. Okay. And the hand means in Hebrew, yod. Okay. That's why the letter is a yod right here. But also in English, it means he, because he's the one who possesses the hand. Okay. Right. So that's what they use there. Right. That's what the letter yod is for. This next letter right here is called an ayin. An ayin is an eye. Okay. That's an eye. And what is one is supposed to, in Hebrew, what does it mean? What an eye is supposed to watch. Okay. That's what you're supposed to do with the eyes, to make observation and to watch. Okay. And this is the word for because. I'm breaking down what because means in this context. Okay. The last word is the noon right here. This last letter right here, and it means seed. Okay. And what is one supposed to do with the seed? He's always supposed to watch the seed, but seed means to do something. The seed means to continue. Okay. That's what a seed does. It continues. Okay. In order to grow and so forth and everything, but you got to watch it. Like I said before, it's the same letters that are used for humility. It's always watching. Remember last week we talked about how you live. You always got to be watching. So you got to continue. So what he's saying is because, and then he says, not that you did not, it's low right here. This LO right here means low. That means never. Okay. Low. That's absolutely never. Okay. Listen to me. Never did you, here's you and your brother, Tam again. And the root of this is Aman, right here, to trust. They say believe or faith is trust, but it's the support. So never have you supported me in me. Okay. And the support of him was to lay, hak, Shani. Kadosh is here. Okay. Hebrew is nothing but a puzzle. Okay. The lay right here is absolute forever, always. Okay. The hey right here, in this yod right here means to cause. Okay. So they didn't cause. They are always supposed to cause something to happen, and they did not. Okay. And the ni is me. So what he's saying is the hakdasheni, meaning that you did not, my sanctity, who I am, is an infinitive, absolutely always doing it based on this letter right here, which is the staff, which means forever, authority. So what he told Moshe and them was, because you and your brother, you guys did not continue to watch out for the continuation of my sanctity, is the reason why you're not going in. And when they failed to speak what Yah said, see, listen, we thought it was striking the rock. Moshe opted to use his voice, his words, his actions versus what Yah told him to say. And when he did that, he canceled out Yah's sanctity. Because Yah is always supposed to be sanctified, and to be sanctified, when Yah is talking about, is to be set apart from everyone else. Moshe and Aaron said, we, not Yah, we. So what they did was they changed the word in which Yahweh had commanded. Yah told them to speak to the rock. They didn't use the words that Yah told them. They said something different. And that right there canceled out Yah's holiness of what he said, which goes down to his word. Remember, he says, here it says, you didn't trust me. In Hebrew, it says, never did you support what I said. When you and I go outside, like Moshe and Aaron, about what Yahweh has said, you're not sanctifying the set apartness of his word. This is the reason why he tells us don't add or subtract from what I said. So when he says, I'm giving these laws and statutes and commandments so you can do them in the land, then you and I come along and says, no, they're given to us so we can do them in exile. You're switching and changing what he said, which goes against the sanctity and the set apartness of the Most High. You and I, just like Moshe, cannot change nothing Yahweh has said. You and I must be on a continual watch. We have to continually watch what we say when it comes to the Most High. And that's something that he and his brother did not do. They did not watch out for the sanctity of Yah. Those are the individuals that are considered to be rebels. That is the issue. It's changing what he has said. That's the reason why he directed us. Like, okay, did you see what the king said to Israel? Did you see Did you see how Israel went out to war with the people with Og and from Keshbon, and he went out with the other king? What's his name? You got Og from Keshbon. You got Bashan. You got them. You got the Emri. You got Edom came against them. So they were sending messages through the Malachim to their messengers to give words. You see that when Moshe went out, he spoke to the people. You see in your Haftorah where Yiftach said the elders told him something. They were speaking to him. And then the contention between him and the king of Ammon was the words they were exchanging between each other. It's always about what someone is saying that can either bring contention or it can bring resolution. So the issue is that Yah says, because, which means in our term, because in English means because. Hebrew, it means that you forgot to watch. You weren't on watch about the set apartness of Yah. We are not on watch for what Yah says versus what we think. This is the reason why anybody that goes against anything that he says is a rebel. Any area. He said, don't touch the pig. It's unclean to you. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. He said, anybody that touches a dead body or walks on a grave will be unclean. They have to go through a purification process. He says anybody that's going to receive his spirit has to be purified. But no, we got these clowns out here talking about they have his spirit. He says that you and I are cursed right now. And you got people out here saying, I'm not, I'm blessed. Those are rebels against the Most High. Anybody that's going against anything that he said is a rebel. So he's telling us you need to be careful to always be on watch to guard the holiness of Yah, because the holiness of Yah is not supposed to be guarded just one time. It's always. This letter here means infinity absolute. Always. Yah is always the authority. He's always going to be the one who's going to make the move. There's nothing that he has said that can ever be put into question. So we see rebellion is not just what we do. Rebellion is what we say and how we try to change what has been said. He was commanded to say something, and he did not say what Yah said. He said what he wanted to say to the people. That's why he was considered a rebel. So yeah, as humble as he was a rebel. As set apart and holy and kadosh as Aharon was, you're a rebel. You're not going into the land. So Yah's making it clear that guess what? He's not changing for nobody. He doesn't care if you brought 2.5 million people out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt. You go against the sanctity of the Most High, you're not going into the land. Now, this should bring caution to us. We should be very cautious. That's the reason why he's bringing it to us, because Yah has a resolution. Yah is going to make a decision and has already made that decision. Just like he made with Aharon, just like he made with the children of Israel, just like he made with that generation, just like he makes all the time. That you and I are not going to be able to change his words. We're not going to be able to do what we want to do. Here's the resolution. The resolution is this. Yah says, I will remove from you those who rebel and transgress against me. I will take them out of the countries where they sojourn, meaning where they live, but they shall not enter the land of Israel. Then you shall know that I am Yahweh. Every time he says, then you should know that I'm Yahweh, he's literally saying, you're going to know how set apart I am. Then you're going to know. Just like he says the nations, they're going to know when I do this for you, when I'm set apart through their eyes, then they're going to know. You're going to know that I'm Yahweh, he says, when I do this, that he's set apart. Yah is set apart from rebels. In English, it says who rebel, okay? It's not telling you right now that it's not just rebel, it's rebelling. It is right, actively right now. Participle, present tense, right now, rebelling. They're rebelling right now. And the people who's transgressing are people that are rebelling and going against the authority right now. It's not past tense, not those who have in the past rebelled. He's talking about the people right now that are in constant rebelling, present tense right now. Well, how are they rebelling against Yahweh? That would be the question. Well, what we learn is rebellion means how you speak. It's your voice and it's your actions. This is the part where we need to be very, very careful. A rebel is not one who's always just out there, you think he's just out there sinning, he and she is sinning. So they're the only rebels. No. You got rebels right now sitting in sanctuaries. You got people who are rebelling against the Most High right now by saying they're changing what he said. You got people rebelling against the Most High. When the Most High says something, you go against what he said. You got a bitter attitude about what he said. You got people that are mad because they're not levying when after the Most High said they have to be registered. You got people that are upset and rebelling against the Most High because he says that you can't eat this. You're not rebelling against the Most High if you're not trying to change his words. You're not rebelling against the Most High by attempting to guard the Shabbat. That's not rebellion. You're not rebelling against the Most High. You're not speaking against his laws, his statutes, and the commandments. You're not rebelling. But if you said anything against what he did say, you're a rebel and you're not going into the land. So after Moshe did all the great things that he did, and when he did this, by the way, he still had to walk through the wilderness with the people, knowing that he wasn't going to the land. He had to continue the job, and he knew he wasn't going in. Because Yah's not going to let a rebel lead a bunch of rebels into the land. That's not going to happen. So here in this text, in Ezekiel chapter number 20, he's giving us a forecast again to tell you that, hey, the people that are rebelling against me are not going in. The people that are transgressing against my authority and trying to depart away from my authority are not going in. The people who are reading the New Testament are not going in. Real quick.
Did Moshe say this before? I can't remember. Did he say this before or after Yahweh said that no one over 20 is going in? Because if that's the case, if he said this after that, if this was declared after that, it would be in keeping with his word. He never goes against his word. So he said no one over 20 is going in. And now it also includes Moshe and Aharon, and Miriam had already died. So it's just in keeping with what he's already spoken.
That's a true fact. But the fact is, he said, but his intent was that they were going to go based on what was written. He said, thank you for your question. It was an awesome question. He did say to them, he said, now you can't lead these people in here because they were supposed to, but now you can't. Now you can't. Remember when the people rebelled against the Most High, when they all got upset about the people that Yah killed previous last week, they all came against Moshe and Aharon. Remember, Moshe and Aharon were not part. Yah did not consider them to be part of that generation. Just like he said, the only two that are going to be able to live that came from those men. Okay. So remember, Moshe and Aharon were not written down in the census. That's the key, Riqua, that they weren't written down in the census. Aharon was set apart. The Leviim and the Kohanim were not written down in the census. So they weren't part of that generation that were supposed to die. So because they weren't written down. Okay. They're not included. Moshe is from the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi was not included in the census. So the people who were not written down, they had to die. I mean, who didn't die. The ones who were written down in that census who were part of the army, they had to die. Okay. So this rebellion right here, this speaking without thinking is what caused them to not go into the land. And it happened because of their bitterness about the situation. And even so, even when they're being upset and they're justified in saying what they're saying, that wasn't the time because the Most High had given them a command. So you and I need to learn that you could be a priest, you could be a high priest, you could be a leader, you could be whatever. You could be the most humble person in the world. God's not concerned with that. You don't get a pass because you're the most humble person in the world. You're not going to get a pass when it comes to the sanctity of the Most High. None of us. So going back to what Zion asked, it doesn't look like any of us might be able to go. How do we really know? That's why Yah's bringing it to our attention. Yes, real quick.
I think we'll know because we don't serve. We're the people that don't serve idols. We may not be able to do it perfectly, but one thing we can do is not serve any idols. Not
Okay.
in any way.
Let me counter that. Did Moshe serve any idols?
Moshe didn't serve any idols, but he didn't
Thank you.
sanctify Yah.
Yeah, did Aaron
He didn't
serve?
he didn't sanctify Yah. And what I mean by not serving idols, I mean by sanctifying Yah by saying that he's our only Elohim, meaning that when he went and didn't when he was given a command to go and speak to the rock or with the staff in his hand, he wasn't supposed to hit it. But when I say that right now, when in this state that we're in, I think the best way we could do that is by not serving any idols, period. Don't serve like we're doing today. Today is a big day for these people, around us in the nation. They're celebrating one of their high holy days. We have decided to set ourselves apart. So when I'm saying don't serve any idols in our captivity, that's what I mean. Not like what Moshe was. He didn't sanctify. We're trying to sanctify or set apart um, Yahweh in the ancient way.
That makes sense. And I would agree with that. But I'm just making the point that even if you didn't serve an idol, like Moshe, he didn't serve an idol, but yet he wasn't able to go into the land, him or Aaron, right? The one who was previously made atonement for the people when they were dying, and he put a plague on them. He said, run, go get the censer, go out. And he stood between the dead and the living. They had a relationship with the Most High. They didn't serve any idols, and yet they weren't able to go into the land because of them speaking something that the Most High never told them to say. It wasn't striking the rock. He doesn't say because you struck the rock. He said because you rebelled against me. And according to what's written in Psalms 106:33, it said that he spoke without thinking. He suffered on their account because they rebelled against Elohim, and he spoke thoughtlessly. It didn't mention, well, he struck the rock. He did the striking of the rock was out of his frustration. But if you look at what the Torah said, the Most High told him, go and speak to the rock. Previous to this, in Exodus chapter number 17, Moshe struck the rock before. So he did what the Most High told him in Exodus chapter number 17, he told him to strike the rock. I don't know if you guys know that. Chapter number 17 of Exodus, the Most High commands Moses to strike the rock. This chapter, he tells him not to strike it, but to speak to it. And guess the reason why he told them to strike it? Because they wanted to know whether or not Yah was with them or not. So this has to do with the set apartness of Yah. It has to do with whether or not Yah is with them or not. And Moshe robbed him and his brother, robbed the congregation, who were a bunch of rebels. He robbed them of the opportunity to know that all you have to do is listen to what Yah says, and you're gonna be okay. But it was through his action, through his striking, through his anger, through his frustration, he gave Yah a whole nother presentation. He presented Yah in a way that Yah didn't want to be presented. He misrepresented Yah, and he did it through his speech.
Hakika.
Yes.
So, all right, this is what I'm getting. The people wanted to know if Yahweh was with them.
Correct.
And in order to know, Yahweh gave him these instructions, but in his frustration, he wasn't mind like you keep emphasizing. Moses was not mindful. He forgot in his frustration that Yah has to be sanctified constantly at every when he's this kind of representation all the time. And because he failed to be, because of his frustration, he spoke unwisely, without thinking about what he was saying, because Yahweh was with him. He was with the people, and the consequences was you can't go into the land because I'm with you. You screwed up. You messed this up. Now you're not going to be able to go. Am I getting this correct? I hope I'm getting it.
It's absolutely 100% true. You're not. How could the people? He said that you and your brother didn't trust me. You didn't support what I said. You didn't support it. That's what he said right here in the language. You did not support me. You did not put your trust in. This says trust, but it's support. We know what it's not faith. It's not believe. You did not support what I said. You did not protect my sanctity in the sight of Israel. That's what you didn't do. And the way that he did that is by simply speaking to them something that Yah never said. He's the mouthpiece for the Most High. The Most High told him, go get your staff, bring it out to the rock and speak to the rock. Okay. I'm going to show you a verse that confirms what I'm saying. Okay. I'm letting us know to answer the question what Azania brought out, because it's Azania, you're 100% correct. If we go against anything that he says, he considers that to be rebellion. Anything. So if I'm out here telling people stuff that he never said, I'm going against him. I'm a rebel. I accept that. Meaning, like, I don't accept that I'm a rebel. I'm saying I would have to be identified as a rebel. If Moshe was considered a rebel by the Most High, he told him, you and your brother are rebels. You rebelled against me. Rebellion comes in different forms in various ways. And if this man who's supposed to be revered and honored, the most humblest man of all the earth, out of all humanity, he failed to set apart the Most High and to sanctify him in front of the eyes of the people through the words that Yah told him, because he's the mouthpiece that Yah chose. Remember, he's standing before the people on behalf of the Most High. If he didn't make it, because he thought he spoke without thinking, I can say something. Now listen, when you look at our Haftarah, the man's name is Yiftach, chapter number 11 in the book of Judges. The man made a vow to the Most High. He said, whatever comes first out of my doors, I'll give it to you. It ended up being his daughter. He had to give up his daughter because he spoke this in front of the Most High. What we say, everyone, is going to be documented. You make a vow to the Most High, you better keep it or you'll be destroyed. We're taking it too lightly. He says that you rebelled against me. You did not sanctify me in the sight of the people. That is a problem. So let's look at it. Let's find out, what did the Most High say? Who is going to be able to go into the land? Is it going to be the people just say, hey, I know the Torah? Or is it going to be the people that the Most High said, hey, listen, you have followed what I said. You did not add to what I said. You did not subtract from what I said. Which people is going to go into the land? Let's find out. Let's really find out what it is. It's not on here. Let's go right here. I want you all to pay careful attention to what the Most High is going to say. This is in the book of Exodus, chapter number 17. This is not the first time the Most High told him to get water, okay? The first time that he tells him to get water for the people was in chapter number 17, after they just came out of Egypt. And they had some concerns. They wanted to know, okay? I'm not here to tear us down. I am here to give us a clear picture of what the Most High is looking for. He says the whole community of the people of Israel left the Sin Desert traveling in stages, as Yahweh had ordered, okay, and camped in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moshe. There's your word again for Reeve, okay? Here's another Reeve. They quarreled with Moshe. They reeved with him. And they're demanding, give us water to drink, just like they did in Numbers chapter number 21 or 20. But Moshe replied, why pick a fight with me? Why are you testing Elohim? He was on point. He's talking about the Most High. This ain't my doing. This ain't my venture. This is his. However, the people were thirsty for water and they were grumbled against Moshe. He says, for what did you bring us out of Egypt? Isn't this the same conversation that we saw in the book of Numbers, which is over a year and a half later? To kill us and our children and livestock with thirst? Same conversation. Moshe cried out to Yahweh, what am I to do with these people? They're ready to stone me. Yahweh answered Moshe, go ahead of the people and bring with you the leaders of Israel. Take your staff in your hand, just like he told him in the book of Numbers. Put the staff in your hand, the one you use to strike the river, and go. Take that authority with you. I will stand in front of you there on the rock in Choreb. Is that not what he said in the book of Numbers? That I will be standing in front of the rock in the presence of that rock? You will strike the rock and water will come out of it so the people can drink. Moshe did this in the sight of the leaders of Israel. He did it. The place was named Massa, testing, and Meribah again for quarreling, because the quarreling of the people of Israel, and because they tested Yahweh by asking. This is the question they asked, which again goes back to not having wisdom. Is Yahweh with us or not? That's what this was about. Is Yahweh with us or not? So in order to prove that he was with them, and it wasn't Moshe that brought him out of Egypt, because they were always thinking Moshe did this. This was some endeavor that he took upon himself. They wanted to know, is he with us or not? So this is what the people were robbed. This is what they're arguing about. They're arguing and fighting, is he with us or not? So when Moshe had an opportunity to show the people the set apartness of Yah, that he is with them, he does love them, he does care for them, he does care for their animals, he does care for the little ones. Him and his brother got upset and they rebelled against the Most High and said something completely different. So Moshe was already accustomed to taking a staff and hitting. He only went with what he remembered. So he got careless. So him striking the rock, that was not the problem. The problem was he changed what Yah said. If you go and we look at our Torah portion, let's look at it. Chapter number 20 of the book of Bamidbar, which is the reason why we go through the Torah. You will see that him striking the rock was something he's already accustomed to. The Most High told him not to do that. He followed the instructions the first time.
Akika, are you sharing your screen? Because I can't
Okay.
see.
Hey, let me show it to you. Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry if you didn't see it. Thank you for bringing that to me. Here it is. You guys didn't see what I showed you in Exodus? I'm sorry. You guys didn't see that?
No, we didn't.
Okay. I'm sorry. So let's do this. Let's go and I'll go ahead and I will show it to you again. Here it is. We're going to go and we're going to go look at Exodus chapter number 17 so you can see it with your own eyes. Okay? That Moshe had all instructed before in chapter number 17 to strike the rock. So the whole community, okay? They left the Zin Desert and traveling stages. That's what it was. So they left. They left out of Egypt. Okay. They wanted to fight with Moshe. I'm going to read the part where the Most High said, he said, what am I supposed to do? Yahweh answered, go on, verse number 5, go on ahead of people and bring you with you Israel, staff in your hand, the one used to strike the root Yah gave him that represents the Yah's with him. He said, I will stand in front of you there in Choreb. I'll stand there. And he gives them the command to strike the rock and the water will come out of it so the people can drink. Moshe did in the sight of the leaders of Israel. The place was called Massa, meaning, and Meribah. Here's your reeve right here, which we went over today, meaning to go against the master of the house because of this quarreling and this arguing and this debating of the people of Israel, and because they tested, which is Massa Yahweh, by asking, is Yahweh with us or not? That is the whole purpose. So when Yah takes the children of Israel to the locations that he's taking them there to teach them. He brings them to places where there is no water, so they can see that he does love them. They can see that it's based on his command, that all he needs to do is say it. And if you follow the instructions, things will happen. The Most High could have told Moshe at that time, just go speak to the rock, but he didn't. He saved that. He says, strike the rock. Moshe followed the command. He struck the rock. Now, let's go over to our Torah portion. And you're going to see almost identical. So the Most High brought Moshe and Aharon here to test them, to find if they're worthy enough to go into the land. Everybody has to have a test. Everyone. They have to be proven. And you and I are not any different than anyone else. The children of Israel's test was go into the land, go take it, have courage, go in. Did they listen? No. They didn't listen. Moshe, Aharon, what was their test? Hey, go take the staff, go to there and speak to the rock. Everyone gets a test. Abraham, go take your son up there. Everyone has to be proven and tested to find out whether they're worthy enough to go to the land. You and I have to prove it. And you prove it by sanctifying Yah's word. If Yah says something, you agree with it. At this moment, you can't fully do it, but you can agree with it. I agree with it. The Shabbat is the Shabbat. I agree with that. Can I keep the festival, the animals and all that? No, I can't do it, but I do agree that it's the time of ceasing. I'll do my best. I'm in training mode. I'm in testing mode right now. He says, don't eat pork. I won't eat it. I get it out of my house. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not eating any pork bacon. I'm not even touching the pig no more. Why? Because Yah said so. Why? Because he said so. Why? Because he said so. That's how it is. Numbers 20. Look at the parallel. Look at it. The people of Israel and the community entered the Sin desert, not the Sin desert, but the Sin desert in the first month and stayed in Kadesh. Now, remember, they weren't able to go on the land. So Yah says, go back towards Yom Suf. Go back towards the Red Sea. Then Miriam died and she was buried because the community had no water. They assembled themselves against Moshe and Aaron. First, they were just going against Moshe. Now they're going against Moshe and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moshe and said, we wish that we had died with our brothers before Yahweh. Why did you bring Yahweh's community into this desert to die? To die there, we and our livestock. Same thing they said earlier when they came out of Egypt. Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us into this terrible place without seed, figs, grapevines, pomegranates, even water to drink? Why? They still want to go back to Egypt. Moshe and Aaron left the assembly, went to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and fell on their faces, and the glory of Yahweh appeared to them. Yahweh said to Moshe, what did he say? Take the staff. Instead of assembling the leaders together, assemble the community. You and Aharon, your brother, and before their eyes, tell the rock to produce the water. So now it went from striking the rock. Now it's about speaking to. Remember our words. You will bring them water out of the rock and thus enable the community and their livestock to drink. That was the opportunity for them to know that Yah was with them, not based on an action, but based on Moshe speaking the power of Yah. The words that Yah said has been discounted because Moshe replaced Yahweh's words with his words. Moshe took the staff from the presence of Yah, obedient. Obedient. As he ordered him, he did what he was commanded. He did part of the commandment. But after Moshe and Aaron assembled the community in front of the rock, he said to them, his words, listen here, you rebels. Are we supposed to bring you water from this rock? Y'all didn't say that. Y'all didn't tell him to even speak to the community. He told them to gather the community. Moshe raised his hand and he hit the rock twice with the staff. Water flowed out of an abundance. The community and their livestock drank. Now they're still thinking this is about Moshe. He did another magic trick for us. But Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, because you, both of you, did not trust in me. You did not have support in me. You never did you support me. You didn't. Because it's not based on what we do. It's based on what Yah said. So as to cause me to be regarded as holy, to be kadosh by the people of Israel. So what they did harmed the people of Israel. You will not bring this community into the land that I have given them. You see? So this spring, Meribah spring, disputed spring, where the people of Israel disputed with Yahweh, they argued and debated with him, and he was caused to be regarded as holy by them, and he was caused. So now here's the thing. You might ask yourself the question, well, I thought you just said that we read that he says, You didn't sanctify me, and I wasn't regarded as holy in front of these people. But it here says he was caused to be regarded as holy by them. Yah is telling us, like he just said in my presentation, then you will know that I'm Yahweh, because guess what he did? His holiness is preventing Moshe and Aaron, who rebelled against him, from going into the land. It was based on his holiness. Anybody that goes against what Yahweh has said, Yah is going to be glorified. Yah is going to be set apart before the eyes of everybody. And guess what? If you and I don't sanctify Yah's word outside of what we think and what we believe, then Yah says that, guess what? I'll be sanctified no matter what, even through you. You won't be going into the land. Just like Moshe and Aharon. You will not go into the land. That is the resolution. You are not going into the land. Because rebellion is not doing what Yah said. Rebellion is changing what Yah said. Rebellion is saying something other than what Yahweh has said. That's when you and I are going to know that Yahweh is Yahweh. Is when you and I are not able to go into the land. Because Yah is going to be glorified. He's going to be sanctified in front of the eyes of the people. The rebels are the ones that Yah is going to use, the one who's rebelling and transgression, for us to know that, guess what? I told you that I'm going to be sanctified. I told you. He just told us. I told you that I will remove from those of you who are rebelling and transgressing against me, including Moshe and Aharon. Yah has no respect of persons, including every man and woman, including every child. Everybody that has gone against my word is not going into the land. I'm going to be sanctified. So yes, we need to open up our eyes. Yes, we need to see. Yes, we need to think. Yes, we need to consider. Otherwise, you are not going into the land. So we have to be watchful. We have to look at our actions. We have to look at what we're saying. We have to take inventory. Moving forward, let's keep Yah outside of our conversation that has nothing to do with Yah. Don't mix what Yah said, what you think. That's what he's telling us. Don't do what Moshe did. Don't do what Aaron did. Don't do it. Because I'm going to be sanctified. Yah's not sanctified by him just having water come out of a rock. Yah is sanctified by us doing what he says and clearly showing that there's a difference between me calling you a bunch of rebels, which you are, and when Yah's talking. When Yah says something, don't you add to anything he said. No perush. In Hebrew, perush means commentary. Yah doesn't need my commentary. He doesn't need your commentary. He doesn't need my human understanding to try to get the people to understand what Yah says. You and I are not to elevate ourselves and try to be on the same level with Yah by saying, are we supposed to do this for you? Are we? It's never been about we. It's always been about him. And that's what Moshe forgot. He lost sight of the fact that it's not about him and it's not about his brother. It's about what Yah wanted, about what Yah was said, and they didn't do what Yah was said. So are we rebelling? Yeah, there's a lot of rebels. And guess what? I'm going to have to look and check myself and look at what I say and what I've said in the past. I'm going to have to look at it. Maybe I won't go into the land. Let's put it, look, let me tell you what Moshe said, okay? He said, you people are the reason why. Like Azania said, that's in Deuteronomy chapter number 4 or chapter number 3, where he says, I can't even go into the land because of you guys. He's still passing the buck. He didn't take responsibility because he's human. He thought it was their fault, because if it wouldn't have been for you guys being so rebellious, I'd probably be going to the land. But he didn't say that. He said it's a situation that came in a matter about you in the water. It's the reason why I'm not going in. But irregardless, you guys are going in, and this is what you need to do. That's in Deuteronomy. So what are we supposed to learn? Hey, I might not be able to go to the land. And maybe you. Maybe you're not able to go on the land. Maybe you said something that you didn't supposed to say. Maybe I said something. Maybe I said something the Most High hates. Maybe he wrote it down. Maybe my name is not written in the book of life. Who am I to say that it is? Who am I to guarantee that Yah is going to be, my life is acceptable to Yah? Who am I to say that my offering to Yah will be accepted? Who am I to say that who gets to go and who doesn't? Who am I? You going to boast yourself against the Most High? He has to take you because you're in exile? Please. Y'all don't have to take none of us. He chooses whoever he wants. And guess what? Someone who's a rebel would not agree with that. A rebel be like, no, you owe this to us. You brought us into this wilderness? No. We should agree with Yah. You really want to be honest? Think about it. Has our ancestors over the last couple of thousand years, have they ever did anything he said? Have they? Have they kept all the festivals? Have they done the dietary laws as he said? Have they raised and taught their children? No. Have they kept his Shabbats? Have we kept the Shabbats the way that he said? No. And because we know that, because we agree with that, we're no longer in rebellion against the Most High. You have to be able to recognize rebellion not only in others, but in oneself. Stop pointing a finger at other people and pointing at yourself. How many Shabbats have you broken in your family, your ancestors? How many? How many times have we gone against Yah in his laws and his words? I didn't know. I didn't know. I've been oppressed. I didn't know. Does that matter? No. We're undeserving. Yah tells us it's not because of any good that you have done that I'm doing this, whole house of Israel, you bunch of rebels. We don't like that. Oh, no, you're calling me a rebel. The Most High said the whole house of Israel is a bunch of rebels. The whole house of Israel, not some of Israel, all of Israel is a bunch of rebels. You're not going to get that kind of teaching because nobody want to say what Yah said. That's what he said. That's you, Akika. No, it's not. You're crazy, Akika. You always talking. You always getting all riled up and screaming. And you think that people are going to hear you. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what I know. Where's it at, Akika? Please, you're saying this, but do you have any evidence that this is true? Because you're just saying it. You're screaming it. You're yelling at me. Tell me why. Well, let's make it at 58. Let's leave verse 1. What does Yah say? What does he say? Shout out loud. Don't hold back. Raise your voice like a shofar. Proclaim to my people what rebel they are. To the Yaakov, their sins. Do you not know what a shofar sounds like? It's a piercing sound. I'm part of that house. You're part of that house. You're part of that family. Oh, yes. They seek me day after day, and they claim to delight in knowing my ways, as if they're an upright nation that had not abandoned the rulings of their Elohim. As if they had not abandoned the rulings of their Elohim. They asked me for just rulings and claim to take pleasure and closeness to God, asking, what? Why should we fast if you don't see? Mortify ourselves if you don't notice. Here's my answer. When you fast, you go about doing whatever you like while keeping your labors hard at work, meaning talking about the Shabbat? So when I yell and I scream and I proclaim to you what the Most High said, don't get mad at me. I'm included. We are a bunch of rebels. Oh, surely that can't be, Akika. I'm reading the Torah. I'm reading the Torah. I'm reading the Haftarah. I'm praying. I don't eat pork. I'm not a rebel. That's not what Yah says. When we abandon Yah's rulings, his judgments, when we're in our land, you and I still have the title of being a rebel. You will not have the rebellious title until you go out into the wilderness to be judged to find out whether or not if you really are or not. How is it that you and I are starting to take the position in our own little wilderness experience to say that you're going to judge yourself to determine whether or not you're a rebel or not? I bet if Moshe was here to tell us, he would never say that I rebelled against Yah. Azania said it. He said, you guys are the reason why. He didn't say I was a rebel, but Yah called him a rebel. Yah called Aharon a rebel. So let's take the judgment of Yah. Let him be the judge to find out whether or not Akika is righteous or unrighteous. Not Akika. You can't judge yourself. You have to let Yah judge us. You and I cannot judge one another. Let Yah be the judge. We're only supposed to go off what he has said. And until he says something different, and it is what it is until he decides to change it. Because whatever he said, it is written. He's not just talking to be talking, he's writing it. He's telling us what it is. That's why it's written here for you. And I had to look at it and say, oh, wow, am I a rebel? Yes, you are. You're a rebel until you're able to keep the laws and the statutes and commandments in the land. You're not in your land because of the rebellion of you and your ancestors. When you go out to the wilderness, Yah is going to judge you and I face to face to see if you and I are worthy of going into that land. So no more tooting our own horn. No more talking about how righteous we are. No more talking about how holy we are. No more talking about how set apart we are. We are in trouble. We are in exile and we're cursed by the Most High Yah. And guess what? You keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, some of you always supposed to have done. And why these people had the Torah, he still said that they're a bunch of rebels. Because he sees something that you and I can't see. So who's the master? The master is the one who judges the house and find out who's who. That's Yah's determination. You may not like it, but it's his determination. We don't have a right to say nothing in front of the Most High. You don't have a right to judge yourself. That's not your job. It is the Most High's job to judge us face to face like he said he's going to do. That's when you're going to find out who you really are, is when you get into the wilderness. Where's that? Is Ezekiel chapter number 20. Please share that with me so I can really understand. Here it is. Yah is going to judge us. First thing he says to Ezekiel, verse number 3, human being, speak to Israel leader, tell them that Yahweh Elohim asks, have you come to consult me? As I live, says Yahweh, I swear that I won't let you consult me. Verse 4, are you going to judge them? Are you going to judge them? Human being, are you going to judge them? If you are, then have them realize how disgusting their ancestors' practices were. Then he goes on and on and on and tells them everything that happened in Egypt. And when they came out of Egypt, went into the wilderness and everything. And when he brought them into the desert. And then finally, at the end of the conversation, the Most High tells you what he's going to do. As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear that surely with the mighty hand and with the stretched out arm and poured out fury, I myself will be king over you. I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out from the countries where you were scattered. with a mighty hand and a stretched arm will pour out fury. Then I will bring you into the desert, other peoples, and judge you face to face. Just as I judged your ancestors in the desert. Just as I judged your ancestors in the desert, in the land of Egypt, so I will judge you, says Yahweh Elohim. I will make you pass under the crook. I will bring you into the obligations of the covenant. That means everything that he said that we should do in the covenant, you and I are going to be brought into the obligations of the covenant. And I will rid you, house of Israel, of the rebels who are revolting against me. He will rid them. He's the one who knows who they are. It could be me. I will bring them out from the land where they're living, but they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I'm Yahweh. You're not reading the Torah so you can figure out I'm not a rebel. No! You're reading the Torah to find out where you have rebelled and what your ancestors did and how we need to be brought back by Yah. But as long as we keep talking about, oh, I'm not a rebel. How can you not be a rebel? How could you not be a rebel and your ancestors were rebels? And they're the ones who taught you how to rebel. Oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Oh, really? Oh, okay. So Yahweh said in verse number 17, I spared them from complete destruction, talking about the whole house of Israel, but I didn't completely finish them off, even though he killed the first generation. I said to their children in the desert, don't live by the laws of your fathers. Observe their rulings or defile yourselves with their idols. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Live by my laws, observe my rulings and obey them and keep my Sabbaths holy, and they will be a sign between me and you so that you will know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. Verse number 21. But the children, too, they rebelled against me. What? They rebelled against me? They too rebelled against me. They did not live by my laws or observe my rulings to obey them, which if a person does, he has life by them, and they profane my Shabbats. Where? Where did they do that at? They did it in the land. Where else did they do it? They did it inside the desert. The second generation rebelled too. Then I said, I will pour my fury on them. Who? The second generation. And spend my anger on them in the desert. Remember, the question is, are you going to judge them, son of man? Because if you are, you need to tell them. Nevertheless, instead of Yah wiping everybody out, nevertheless, I withdrew my hand and allowed concern for my own reputation, not nobody else, for his own name, because Hebrew is reputation, my own name, to keep it from being profaned in the sight of nations, who has seen that I brought them out. I raised my hand. I swore to them in the desert that I would scatter them. They already knew what he was going to do to them. I'm going to scatter them among the nations. That's you. That's me. That's all of our people. The same people that were there that rebelled against the Most High in the desert is the same people that he scattered to the nations. But you're not a rebel, are you? Yes, you are. Because they hadn't obeyed my rulings, but have rejected my laws, profaned my Shabbats, and their eyes have turned away from their father's idols. So, Akika, I'm keeping his rulings. No, you're not. I haven't rejected his laws. Yes, you have. You're profaning his Shabbats. No, I'm not. Yes, we are. The moment that you and I are in another land where you got to ask permission to not go to work, you profane Yahweh's Shabbat. You being here is a profanation of Yah. Don't you get it? It's always about Yah's reputation. And their eyes had turned toward their father's idols. You think because you and I turned away from Christianity or whatever religion you were in, you think there's not a stain on you? You think because you've opened your mouth and said the name and prayed to another God that now all of a sudden now that's washed away. There's nothing going on right now. You think you and I are in good standing with Yah? And we're scattered. and we're filthy and we're unclean and we eat contaminated food. Our people, our children are out of control. And you're sitting there saying that you're okay with Yah? There's a problem. There is a definite problem with the house of Israel. Our rebellion is in the fact that we haven't accepted what he said about us. That is another form of rebellion. To go against the authority of what Yah said. It's not just saying things. It's not just doing things. It's about acceptance. What has been written about me? Well, you want to accept that. You would accept your own justification of yourself because you set apart the Sabbath by not cooking on it. You think that that is what sanctifies the Most High? You really believe that that's what the intent of that was? The intent of the Shabbat is for the land. The intent of the Shabbat is for the land to get its rest. The intent for the Shabbat is to have your servants and your animals getting a rest. You're not going to turn around and change what Yah said to fit your narrative. So you can feel righteous about your exile. You can feel okay about being dispersed. So what do? We create a narrative. We create churches. We create synagogues. We create, liturgy. We create whatever we want. We read Hebrew. We speak it. We do festivals. We dance and sing songs to Yah. And of course, he's happy. We haven't done anything wrong. Look, I pray to you. I know your name. But you've also had the name of other gods on your lips that you don't think that has contaminated and profaned Yahweh's name. You don't realize that all the pork that you've been eating your whole entire life has caused you to be unclean. You don't know, and you're not up on it enough to know that you've been touching dead bodies and you've never been sanctified. You don't know the consequence of that. You don't understand that the people who touched the dead body and failed to go ahead and get cleansed in the method of the process, which was through the red heifer, that individual soul was to be cut off from the children of Israel, from your own people. So we're going to discount his laws so you and I can feel better. So we can make ourselves acceptable to Yah. Have you lost your everlasting mind? We cannot change what he has said. When I was a child, I used to go play in a mortuary. I used to go play and look and go to bodies and touch them and stuff like that. I know it's weird. When I was a kid. I used to embrace my grandparents and cry and bring flowers. I got people in my family went to Mother Grace got proposed to. I got people to go out and visit their family and pour beer and liquor and everything and bring their favorite meal, sit it right there at the gravesite. Do you and I know what Yah's talking about? Oh, the Torah is given so you and I can open our eyes so you can and I can understand that Yahweh is set apart. And he's not set apart through us. It's going to be by us, but Yah's the one who sets himself apart. Yah's the one who brings holiness to his name. Yahweh is the one. So either we're going to accept what he says or we're going to keep playing games. This is what's supposed to cause us to be humble. This is what's supposed to put us in check. Your whole time of being in exile is for you to be in time out and consider what the Most High said about it. Yes, I know it's exciting to find out children of Israel. Yes, it's exciting to be in the covenant with the Most High, the creator of the heavens and earth. Yes, it's beautiful. Not discounting that. But I am going to keep it very plain and vanilla. You and I need to understand. Yah's not the one to play with. He's not the one that you and I can turn around and change what he said to fit our narrative. So you and I can be justified. It's not going to happen. We're going to only be cleansed by Yah. We're only going to be sanctified by Yah. We're only going to be accepted by Yah when he says it. You're only going into the land when Yah determines if you're going into the land. You're only going to be able to live if he says you're going to live. You're going to die when he says you're going to die. And it's nothing you and I can do about it. How's that for fear? How's that for regard? How's that for respect? That's what he's looking for from his people. To be in dread, to be in fear, to be in reverence, to be terrified at the fact of even knowing Yah. He just told us last week. The same Elohim that told you and I that we were rebels. The same one. The same identical one. What did Isaiah? What did he say in Isaiah? Chapter 66, to bring everything to our understanding. What did he say? He said this, so you and I will never forget it. The same one when he told us that you guys are a bunch of rebels, guess what he said? Heaven is my throne, says Yahweh, and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house could you build for me? What sort of place do you devise for my rest? Didn't I myself make all these things? This is how they all came to be, says Yahweh. The kind of person on whom I look with favor is the one with a poor and humble spirit who trembles at my word. We went over it. Brush your spirit like you would a seed and examine it and look at it and be terrified at the Yah's word. So, what I heard, what I understand, from Azania's question, she said, hey, who can go? Who can go? Who can qualify to be brought into Yahweh's kingdom and into his land after everything that we have done? What kind of person will qualify to go to that place? That can only be determined by the Most High Yah. If he finds the work that I've done to be satisfactory in his sight, I can do the whole bunch of work all the way up to the point and make one wrong move and don't go into the land. Because it's not guaranteed. You understand what I'm saying to you? You might be in covenant with the Most High, but you might have violated Yah. I might have violated Yah. I might have said something against Yah, and this is what the trembling and the fear comes from. I might have said something, you guys, against the Most High, and I did it out of ignorance, not knowing, like Moshe spoke thoughtlessly, but I'm thinking first. I may have said something to Yah and you know, did something that was a reflection of Yah in a wrong way. I might have treated somebody a way that Yah didn't even like and hated. I might have did something that Most High says not acceptable. I don't like that. I don't like your attitude. Like Onan, Judah's son, an heir. He killed him because he just didn't like him. But we don't want to read that, huh? Because you've been reading that New Testament. It tells you that God's going to accept everybody. That's what you've been told. You've been told because you call on his name that you're going to be delivered. That doesn't mean anything. Knowing Yah's name doesn't mean anything in that context. It's what Yah finds to be approved and accepted by the Most High. Any offerings that were brought to Yah had to go through a process of acceptance and approval. The red heifer had to be approved. Nothing can go to Yah without approval. The people that go to Yah has to be approved and accepted by Yah. Even if they're a chosen family, they can't have a mark or a blemish on them. But we don't like that about our Elohim. We want him to be the God of the New Testament, except come as you are and accept us with all of our flaws and say that I'm a holy and righteous people because he killed somebody on my behalf so I can do the wickedness that I love doing. No, that's not going to happen. So I speak to you today out of fear and trembling to tell you I'm not playing a game with you. The Most High I might not be acceptable. That's the truth. You want the truth? Or do you want me to lie to you? Which one do you want? Do you want the truth? Or do you want me to keep telling you something that ain't true? What do you want? You want y'all to tell us what it is? Huh? What do you want? What do we
The
want?
truth. The
You
truth.
want
It
the
has to be.
truth. You want the truth. That's what you're after. You want truth. You want what's real. Our Elohim is real. He's not a character in heaven. He's the creator of the heavens and earth. Everything you see on this earth, he made, it's his. Everything. He sits on the circle of the earth. It's his. He chooses and accepts, and he makes the choice. And even in his choosing of the children of Israel, he's going to go through them and make a choice. 2/3 of our people are dead. I'm hopeful. And that's all I have is a hope that y'all would choose me, but maybe not. I don't get to pick that. I don't get to decide. I'm a human being. I don't get to decide that. That's what it is. That's like my cat telling me, you got to pick me. I got to go live in your house. I can go pick any cat I want. I don't have to pick you. I go pick whatever I want. You understand? A katul. That's how you say cat in Hebrew. I go pick whatever cat katul I want. I don't need you. I'm going to pick another. You better be thankful I chose you. Oh, praise. Here's the crazy part. I'm going to praise y'all even regardless, even if I don't get picked. How about that? Because he's still worthy, whether I get picked or not. He's still worthy of praise. Praise Yah. That's all I got to say. Now, listen, I got to give you your Torah portion. Okay? This is real. I'm not playing with nobody. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? Because I know how people like to play games and get you and ask you for money and all kind of stuff. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking you to give me an ear to listen. Here's your Torah portion. This is the reason why you do this. Well, if I'm not going to be picked, why am I doing this? If I don't know if I'm going to get picked or not, why am I continuing reading the Torah and praying? Why am I to keep it, guarding the Shabbat the best way I know how if I don't know if I'm going to get picked? See, are you doing it because you want to get picked? It's crazy. Yah still gets to pick. Yah gets to pick. Okay? He gets to pick. Out of what he like, fruits and vegetables, he gets to pick. He's sovereign. I can choose whatever he chooses, whatever he wants. Here you go, Torah. Instructions. It's just for you to go through it and see. The decision to do this is yours, but the decision of the picking is that's his. You don't get to pick the day you're born. You don't get to pick the day you die. You don't get to pick that. There's some things you just don't get to have any say in, period. But the things that you do have say in, take advantage of that. Now you can choose whether you're going to read this or not. You can choose whether or not you're going to listen or not. And that's the best part. We get to choose this. You don't get to choose whether or not you're going into the land. Our behavior and our actions and conduct may not be acceptable. Why are you laughing? Because I'm terrified at even the prospect of not being able to go into the land. Obviously, I didn't do what was required of me, or he didn't see what I was doing fitting. Offer y'all some because you just figure you can offer it. It's what he wants. And if he wants you, he'll pick you. If you don't, then you're not getting picked. That's it. Period. Does that make sense? That's it. That's it. That's all. Any questions, contributions? I know I kept you a little longer. I thought it was going to be a short class, but it wasn't. Y'all's not playing. Okay. So Rebellion comes in many forms and shapes and sizes and in people.